Tulis. In a proposed reading program, Governor Bill Haslam seeks to undermine the illiteracy program in the public education sector. And former Secretary of Treasury, Mr. Summers, is making war with his words on the $100 bill. This is David Tulis, and I'm glad you're giving me a few minutes of your time here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. What is the elevator speech for local economy? It is not 50 seconds. It's really more like 20 minutes, 19 minutes maybe. And I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell. What is the argument for local economy? Why is local economy important? And it's two parts. There's 10 minutes into the disaster, and then there are 10 minutes out of the disaster. And that's the local economy problem. We have a crisis ahead, and it comes from the state's ontological imperative to expand. It cannot stop expanding. It is by definition, by design, intended to expand. It's an impersonal situation. It has become a super organism overseeing the economy and paralyzing the economy, the American economy. The national economy, run by fueled by credit and debt, is unresponsive. It is an unresponsive system. It does not accept the signals of the marketplace. It will not allow there to be a fever to kill the invasive organisms, if you will, that would render it back into a healthy state. It does not allow for creative instability. In other words, it does not allow for local economy, but has built into itself since the time of Roosevelt a systemic instability. And it does not not allowing for creative instability, which is local economy and free markets. It does not have a sufficient stabilizing feedback mechanism. All right, there's no feedback. It is effectively a kind of economic monoculture. It's not diverse. It's not multicultural in the right sense of the word. It is a monoculture. It is not diverse. And the reasons for that are several. For example, there's been a long time separation of risk and gain. People can make huge gains and take no risk. They've offloaded their risk upon the taxpayer and upon the state. Think of TARP, the Troubled Asset Relief Program under President Bush. There is also this financialization of the economy taking place in Chicago and the futures exchange, which begs. Well, not begs, but it gambles on the striking variations in paper money schemes worldwide. People make their billions there, and they create billions for mergers and acquisitions and other things in the financial sector, the buying back of stock there. They borrow in this market of artificial money. There has been an artificial boom since 2008 and 10. We have zero interest rates for a decade. We are coming into ZIRP, from ZIRP to NERP. NERP is negative interest rates. And that is an end game. That's a sign of an end game. And negative interest rates and zero interest rates are a suppression of an important, the essential marketplace signal, and that is price. If money is free, if debt is free for the big people, for the good people, then how do we know what not to invest in? How do we know what to invest in? Well, everything is invested in, and shopping malls and businesses, retail sector, an overbuilt retail sector, an overbuilt housing sector, are all booming here in Chattanooga. Story on the front page of the paper a couple of days ago about the traffic barriers downtown. Just look on Hickson Pike near our studio. There is a huge buildup in the national economy of malinvestment, and that is calling for a fire. Fires out west, clear the deadwood. We have had no fire. Fires are not permitted, and so there is a ferociously tinder-like economic system just waiting for a match. And then the valuations on these properties will be seen to be true in their true light, not what they are kept on the books as being. We have deadwood, and we can't get rid of it. If money is free, then everything is a good idea. Every mall, every business, every gadget, every bit of software, every new company is a great concept, and we're going to make it happen here in the gig city. Okay, that's the theme. That is national economy. And it is an unresponsive system. It's made possible by an unconstitutional financial system, not based on gold and silver, but on simple bank credit with the Federal Reserve System being the banker's bank and also being the manager of the economy. It cannot manage the economy, though it has pretended to since the time that the American financial system got off of constitutional money, and that last step was under a Republican President Nixon. There is really an impossibility of market responses to the coming disaster, which will come in the credit sector, just like as it did before, where there are false signals as to what things are truly worth. We don't have a free market. We have a controlled economy. We have a political economy, not under a night watchman state, but under a caretaker state, which has enwrapped everyone and everything and every business and every dream, every conception in its own authority. Minor changes, I should say, are blocked in this economy. Minor signals which allow for things to be adjusted are not heard, right? And so what you have is a buildup of events. You have a giant wall, if you will, of bad debt, bad credit, false promises, subsidies, inefficient systems, zombie corporations, and you'll have one little tiny flick of an event, right, which will have a gigantic result in the great downwash. There's no scaling back. It seems there are no triggers. There is no reform possible in the national economy. Okay, here we are. I'm giving you a 10 minutes into the disaster, and then we're going to talk about the 10 minutes out. That's local economy and the free market and Christianity. Without Christianity, you're not going to have a recovery. There is a building up of pressure in the national economy. The market is not a real market. As I say, it's kind of a state-managed platform. For what? For predation, where the debt capitalists, the borrowed capitalists, the politically connected capitalists make their killings, and also it is a market of perception management, where you are led to think that we are a strong American people, a strong American economy, and we will get through our crisis. We just have to elect the right president. Speaking of which, the election that we're looking at is at very best a form of marketing for the presidency itself, for the executive branch, which has seized the nation. It is a kind of a monarchical system operated on the basis of administrative law. Administrative law is arbitrary and capricious by definition. It is outside of law. It is not submitting itself to the government of the Constitution. We have a state and a deep state behind the government, the faces of which we see in the president. We see that in congressmen, in judges, and so on. Think of Iguazu Falls in Argentina. It's a huge waterfall, tremendous tourist trap, and on a river heading toward the fall. You can see it miles away. You can hear it miles away. And we are on a boat. The Blythe captain at the top of in the helm's room is Senator Corker, let's just say, and with him Senator Alexander. And they're saying we need to be conservative. Well, what they're doing is saying we're heading toward the falls. We hear a roar. We don't know what it means. We see the huge mists that fly up from Iguazu Falls like a rain coming up from the surface of the earth. And yes, we're going to get 100 yards closer to the shore because we're not sure what's ahead. It sounds bad. It sounds kind of dangerous. We're going to get there. We are going to be conservative. And yet there is no change of direction. No one's getting off the boat. And the deck chairs are being laid out by the waiters, and tea is being served, and later cocktails with some French bread. There are the structural self-limits, the market economy have failed. They are not allowed to work. What we need to have is a depression. What the government never wants there to be is a depression, which liquidates the bad debt, which liquidates all the malinvestment that's in the economy. It doesn't want that to happen because its friends are involved in many of these schemes. When the collapse comes, when the crisis hits, there will be, on certain days, perhaps in certain weeks, there will be a huge impulse to sell. The gigantic players in the marketplace, CalPERS, the retirement systems, the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, a retirement system of state capital bigger in Tennessee than the state itself. They will be selling. And you, the little guy, will be thinking, well, I need to get out. Well, there will be no buyers when the collapse hits. And there will be at least loss of half your net worth. That's my prediction for you, my listener. You're going to lose half your net worth, if not more, if you don't get out now. Think in terms of local economy. And now that's 10 minutes in. All right, 10 minutes out here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. My name is David Tulis. I'm talking quickly to get it out, okay? This is my elevator pitch, and we've got 20 minutes to get it done. The first 10 minutes you just heard is my analysis of the causes of the crisis, the causes of the cataclysm, which will be financial, but there are many other aspects to it as well. The remedies are what we want to look at in a nutshell. What are the remedies? I cover these at Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters. That's Nooganomics.com. The remedy is we can't stop it. We can't elect our way out of it. Whomever is elected will do nothing to solve it. There's even the best statesman we have in the United States, Ron Paul, could do nothing to stop what's going to happen. Okay, he can't stop it, and the solution is apolitical. There is no political government management of the economy solution. There is not one. It cannot happen. If anything, the man at the top can only make things worse. He cannot make it better. You are going to lose half your net worth. Okay, what are the remedies to the coming disaster, which is financial, legal, and in many ways it's moral, and I would say as a deacon in the church, it is a highly deserved judgment of God against an evil people with evil ways and much blood shed here and far beyond of innocent people decapitated not just by bombs, but by our exporting of inflation for decades. We've exported our inflation decades. The remedies are as follows: cash, physical property, self-investment. That means divesting national, investing local, investing where with you. You start investing in yourself. You know something. You have things that are valuable in the marketplace. And that's why my guest on this show at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio is rarely ever a political person, because political people do not have solutions. The solutions in part to the coming crisis is the entrepreneur. And you, my listener, need to have a plan B. A plan B, investing in yourself, investing in neighbors, investing in your children. If your son needs $50,000 to start a business, why should he have to go to Web Bank out in Utah or someplace like that, or go to the SBA? Why should he have to do that? What about family capital? Getting out of the system is important. Saying no is important. Saying no to Washington and Nashville is important. Saying yes to local economy and people individually is important. There needs to be diversification. That's also part of the answer. The remedy in the coming disaster is people. Your own children first. You give time to your children now, because when in the latter years of the downturn, you're going to need them to take care of you. You, my listener, have to invest in your children so that they will take care of you when you are old. Also, gold and silver, physical assets such as that, I'd say in that direction would be pistols, things that are small, valuable, fungible. Your investment under the Clinton administration in SKS rifles that went for $90 are now $475 or so at the gun shop. That was a good investment that you, my listener, made 20 years ago under Clinton. The gray market, the black market are also a sign, a place where the remedy will be had. The digital economy, where there are alternate means of payments outside of regulation, outside the scope of the claims of the federal, state, and also state government. In this remedy, you find what we don't have in national economy. You find low intensity instability. I'm using this phrase. It comes from one of my favorite writers, Charles Hugh Smith, whose book I recommend. I recommend his work, Charles Hugh Smith. The website is of2minds.com. It's the number 7 contrarian website, according to MSNBC. A very good, important book. I've read this book very, very carefully, and I recommend that you do the same. It's called Resistance, Revolution, Liberation, A Model for Positive Change. I don't agree with everything he says, but it is certainly very valuable. Okay, remedy. What else do we find in the remedy? The gray market, the black market, the free market, cash, doing things in cash, avoiding credit, avoiding borrowing. If you borrow from existing capital, rather than in the credit economy, where the money is made from nothing. There's a principial reason, a reason in principle that you should have to favor using existing capital that actually is worth something and is actually connected to labor and production, rather than hot capital that the big people are used in the trillions. They use it in the trillions to make themselves prosperous, to make themselves successful. Another part of the remedy of rebuilding following the disaster, which The remedy, mind you, is a 100-year program. It doesn't go. It's not just something you do one time. It goes for 100 years. It crosses generations, but we have to think in terms of it now. And another important part is, I would say, Christian revival and rebuilding. You could even call it a reconstruction in terms of equity. Equity being God's law. In that is self-government. In that is a recognition of the sovereignty and the providence of God. God who raises nations and fells empires at will and has done so repeatedly. God who raises families and fells families. God who favors Jacob over Esau. God who favors Israel over Egypt, for example. Also, an understanding of the use of God's law that is a positive form of theology. It is part of the Reformation. God's law is not simply a subjective claim upon your emotions. It is an actual system of government. And the closer any future state or any future assembly of people in a kingdom or a government needs to take account of that. And finally, in the direction of skepticism of the political process, the solutions for private capital and private prosperity are apolitical. Okay, they are not political. Republicans, Democrats, left and right, conservative and liberal, they and the people who swarm those barristers, or not barristers, but barricades, they are misleading you to think that they have any solutions, or they're great ones, right? Their grandees have any solutions. They don't. We favor, and the market will favor in the future, decentralization. You could also call it the distributed model of law, where you don't have centralized law systems under centralized states, under centralized Congresses, but you have a distributed and decentralized means of redress of grievance, and a distributed and lococentric means of addressing and conquering the wicked. That would be the murderer, the rapist, the inflationist, the fraudster, the man who makes tainted goods or polluted wine, cars that blow up on their drivers, and so on. In part of that, I would suggest you need to make much of local elections, care little about national elections, and for example, in taking charge of government, you, my listener, should interest yourself in mechanisms such as the relator law, which lets 10 people unseat a city councilman, a mayor, a sheriff, a county clerk, even a state representative or senator, or even others as well. They can be thrown from office by 10 people using the Tennessee relator statute, and you won't find that anywhere discussed in Tennessee except at Nooganomics.com. The website for the man who matters, who wants real insight into what is there. Under the reforms that are needed, the work will be, I hope, a rediscovery of the concepts of constitutional government. Again, that is the government that is the night watchman government who performs a negative function, rather than a civil magistrate, civil government that is a caretaker who engages in all kinds of positive functions, such as education, welfare, care for the sick, care for the elderly, and other things that are have always been the domain, the under the purview of the state, of the family and the church. Not the state, but the family and the church. These are the remedies of the coming disaster, and chief among them, I'd say, is seeking favor with God, seeking to obey His laws, and then also thinking about other people locally, not in terms of I'm going to campaign for Senator Cruz because we need to have a good man at the top. That's a wasted effort. Or even if he's not the best, well, then whomever is the best. Maybe it's Hillary Clinton. It doesn't really matter. The solution is not doing good for others by getting the right guy elected, but actually doing good for others as an entrepreneur. Taking what you know, finding people whom you can serve with your gifts, your knowledge, your connections, your capital, your family, your insight into your particular marketplace. That is what you, my listener, need to be doing. That is the remedy. That is local economy. Local economy, in a nutshell, here in Chattanooga, we could call Noogacentrism. We could call it lococentrism. But I have a little moniker, and that moniker is Nooganomics. If we take part in Nooganomics, we don't solve the nation's problems. We are going to be badly damaged by those things that happen there. But we need to understand that there is a reckoning that's coming, a great reckoning that's coming. I would say there's a theological reason for it. It's God's long-awaited judgment. But as that happens, we can make the most of it. We can see that as the old things are broken, The status quo is broken. The state's ontological imperative for expansion is finally blocked and finally thwarted. And the hope and dreams that the state promised to fill, the protections it promised to provide everybody, the irresponsibility that it intended to subsidize so that you could be lazy and careless and feckless and a consumer, all of those promises are gone. They've been vaporized by the meltdown. They've been vaporized by the Great Reckoning. And this, I think, is something to look forward to. It is a disaster, but it is a disaster that is good. It is a good disaster. It is a ruinous disaster. But you, my listener, and I, David Tulis, your host here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, the editor of Nooganomics.com, the site for the man who matters. If we think through these problems, we can see the problem for what it is and look to the solution. That's what I'm about, the solutions. This is David Tulis, and this is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, the station for the man who matters.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a chilly start with lots of morning clouds for your Wednesday. Drying out, though, through the day. High temperatures near 50 tonight. Clearing out, overnight lows cold, near freezing. After a frosty start, though, lots of sunshine. Beautiful Thursday, highs warming into the upper 50s, back into the 60s Friday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried chicken finger with their special sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Are you prepared? Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? Now is the time to come to P5 Preparedness. We offer preparedness classes, supplies, and over 30 years of combined knowledge. P5 Preparedness, located on East Raynard Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel. Look for the big Army truck. Call us at 423-602-2175. Do not wait. You need to get prepared today. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. Get the skills and supplies you need or die waiting for help. P5 Preparedness.
Hello, I'm Mike Little, candidate for criminal court judge with 25 years of criminal court experience, which makes me the most qualified candidate. The experience I have gained from handling over 4,000 cases in state and federal court has equipped me with the ability to be fair, impartial, and independent. As your next criminal court judge, I will focus on keeping Hamilton County safe. I view this position as a public service and will strive to improve the daily operations of court. I humbly ask for your trust and vote in the March 1st Republican primary.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mike Little. Barry Abbott, Treasurer.
Sky Aerial Services uses advanced drone technology to give you a better perspective and depth of your property and project. We offer aerial photography and video for your business, farm, home, or advertising campaigns, as well as editing services to complete the experience. Call us at 423-521-0284 and see how we can help you tell your story about your business, property, or project. We work with real estate professionals, both commercial and residential, developers, engineer inspectors, surveyors, ad agencies, auto and boat dealers, mapping services, insurance inspectors, corporate marketing, charity events, weddings, and photographers. Our consultation is free. Call 423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284, or visit our website, skyaerialservices.com. Sky Aerial Services. The sky is our limit.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
Fox News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. The empire of Apple bites back as CEO Tim Cook defies the FBI and a court order.
Cook posted an open letter to customers on Apple's website early this morning, saying the judge's ruling sets a dangerous precedent and has implications far beyond the legal case at hand. Part of the letter says they have asked us to build a backdoor to the iPhone. Saeed Farouk left the phone behind when he and his jihad bride, Tashfeen Malik, shot and killed 14 people back in December.
Fox's Jackie Ibanez. Cook's defiance is being appealed applauded by digital privacy advocates. Donald Trump maintains his lead heading into Saturday's GOP South Carolina primary.
A new CNN ORC poll out just yesterday gives Trump a 16-point lead over his closest opponent. Trump's at 38%, Cruz is at 22%, Rubio's in third at 14%. So Trump is clearly the front runner.
Fox's Kristen Fisher. For the Democrats, the same poll has Hillary Clinton 18 points ahead of Bernie Sanders. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A wrestler from Rossville pleaded guilty on Tuesday to having sexual relations with a 14-year-old girl back in March of 2013. Authorities say he raped her at her home on Standifer Gap and then discussed the incident in detail on Facebook. The judge placed the defendant on the sex offender registry for a minimum of 10 years and instructed him to have no contact with the victim or her family. And a former Tennessee offensive lineman, Matt Crowder, has been booked on 5 third-degree felony charges on Tuesday night in Florida. 4 counts of sending material harmful to a minor, and 1 count of using a computer for a prohibited purpose. According to a release, this was part of Operation Wayfarer, which was a 5-day operation run from January the 20th to the 24th, in which investigators went to various online classified pages and posed in chat rooms as minors. Be sure to get the Bloom Sky app on your smartphone, search for Chattanooga, and you'll see the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Make sure you get your lunch today at Choo Choo Barbecue in Hickson, the best barbecue about. There's a secret rub and a delicious smoked flavor on the pork, the chicken, the beef. That's Choo Choo Barbecue in Hickson. Now, catering is something to think about. You may want to call about that, but I do recommend that you call Choo Choo Barbecue for the catering of your next event. That number is 870-7894, 870-7894. Call ahead and make an inquiry about how those fine folks can help your event with the best sandwiches and drinks and the like. We're brought to you by Superior Air Systems in the big orange vans, traipsing about Chattanooga and Hamilton County, bringing relief when the air conditioning or the unit or the heating unit does not work. It will maintain that for you and help you when there is a mishap or a crisis in the operation of that device. Superior Air Systems, 886-6602, 886-6602. My name is David Tulis, and we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We have Binary with Russell, the kid, and every Thursday we have the Patriot Prepper Show. And at noon, we've got Colin Cowherd on sports, the national sports icon. And after him, the national neocon icon, Sean Hannity, with his analysis of the political scene across the country. At nighttime, the deep dark of night, we've got Coast to Coast AM with George Noory. We're the CBS and Fox affiliate here in Chattanooga, and the NASCAR station. We exclusively in this market have NASCAR. We sure appreciate your tuning into that show, and also making note of all of our advertisers through whom we make our livings and whom we support, because they are local economy players. I've got here with me David Powers. David Powers is Dr. David Powers, and he works in his main calling as a marital counselor. But he has also at the same time an interest in entrepreneurship and adventure. He's 41 years old. He and his wife Corrine have 4 children. David, what does my listener who's thinking about going into business need to consider? He's working for someone now. He's been there, he thinks, too long. The pay is only adequate, but he has some ideas about what he could do on the side. How should he think about his situation where he's got the security of the regular paycheck, but he also has this desire to do better for other people and for himself by starting something?
Oh, yeah, that's a great place to be, because, I mean, number one, you've got the security that you need to jump out, to launch. It's kind of like jumping out of an airplane with a parachute as opposed to without. If you don't have a job, if you don't have that security, you don't have the parachute. But if you do, go ahead and jump out. I mean, I say go ahead and launch. And because what you have to consider is that, your family is there waiting for you. If you have a family, if not, you've got your own dreams. I mean, life is too short not to go ahead and do what you want to do. But while you've got that job, just go ahead and enjoy the paycheck, but use that as a launching pad.
Well, when do you know when to leave the paycheck?
Well, for most people, it's when they can replace that income. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. That's even something my wife and I are looking at for her job. I mean, she's working full-time at a local business. And, if you can fully replace that income, I mean, by all means, at that point, go ahead and jump out.
So you're the Powers family is a 2-income family, but you have 3 sons, I think, and a daughter whom you homeschool. How does that all work at the Powers household?
Oh, it's crazy. I'm kind of the Mr. Mom, since I'm the home office entrepreneur. I homeschool the kids mostly. I have my own full-time business doing marital counseling and authoring. But my wife, she works full-time at one of the bigger local industries. And it's hard because she wants to be home, joining me with the adventures with the kids and also helping do something that provides more for our dreams than just someone else's dreams.
Well, let's talk a little bit more, David Powers, about this whole idea of you're on the payroll, my listener's on the payroll, but he's thinking about using some of his own gifts. What should he do in considering what he has in the way of assets? What are his assets, and how should he evaluate them?
Well, as far as assets, I'd say number one, don't put any of that in danger. I mean, things are too crazy right now to put assets in danger with lots of debt, lots of loans, things like that. I always recommend micro businesses. I mean, if you have a paycheck, start out with a micro business and make it larger.
Well, give some examples.
Okay, for example, Etsy. I mean, the website Etsy, there are millions and millions, not millions, but millions and millions of dollars, but not people. But there are a lot of people on Etsy that are making full-time incomes that started out as really tiny ventures. And by tiny, I'm talking about buying a sewing machine and making things at the house. And, as far as that, you also have the other online businesses like eBay. You can do lots of things on eBay other than just selling your junk.
For example?
I mean, I paid for my undergrad college education by selling my comic book collection. At the time, no family, but I paid for school. Well, you can also drop ship things, like order things from China and have them drop shipped where you don't even touch the merchandise. Now, that's a little larger, so you don't want to start right away with that because it's an investment. But you can buy things in bulk and just resell them on eBay.
Give some examples of that.
Okay, yeah, like phone cases. Think about any single thing that everybody has. Almost everybody has a cell phone. Even people that don't have money have cell phones. I got one in my pocket right now, too. And along with the cell phone, think about what else you have. On this phone right here, I can see a case, and it's one of the better cases, too. One of the ones where he could toss that thing across the parking lot and the phone be fine. I've got one of those on mine. It's a waterproof case, so that's money. You could buy those and resell them.
Well, for example, this case cost me, I think, $30 or so retail. What would my listener potentially pay for one, and then if he's buying in bulk, and then what could he charge for reselling it?
Okay, well, I mean, ideally, you want high margins, so you'd find a place where you could buy a phone case or, bulk phone cases for, say, $1, resell them for $30. That's a lot of money. I mean, you buy a case of 100, have them shipped from China, or don't even have them shipped from you. You can set up the sites pretty easy where those are actually, when they're ordered, they ship from China at that point, and you never touch or see the merchandise. You just handle the customer service aspect of it. Along with that phone, not only on my phone, I have a case, but also I have a scratch-proof screen because I'm a little OCD about that, and I know that I'm likely to break it. I've dropped it 1,000,000 times and never broken it yet. But for me, that phone was an investment. I mean, $600 plus all the fees and charges. So I wanted to protect that. Well, you could be in the business of helping to do that. It's also easy on the back end, on the inside of the phone. Lots of people are designing apps. I mean, you could go online and find a developer in another country and pay them pennies on the dollar to design an app, and then you sell it. I mean, so there are a million things you could do just with phones.
And those are things my listener can do from home without having to do a lot of travel or buy equipment.
Oh, absolutely. You could do that without even ever leaving the house. Just identify what people want and what people use. That's what are
some other examples, David Powers, that are sort of in that direction where my listener doesn't have to have a large commitment of time or money or expense to do something that provides a service?
Okay, well, as far as the service, think about what people need. My son right now, my oldest son is 11 years old. He's wanting to buy his first phone. And so we're trying to identify job opportunities for him. Well, you could do the same thing. In the apartment building we live in, people need babysitters. Not only that, but, people walk their dogs and don't want to pick up after the dogs. Well, he can charge for that. I mean, it's not a fun job, but hey, if you need some money or you need some startup capital, it's a way to go. There's also he could walk the dogs. I mean, that's an added service. He could tutor people. I mean, since we homeschool, he gets out of school earlier than the traditional public school kids, and he could tutor some of those kids. Lots of things he could do. I mean, he could even, he loves video games. I mean, there are kids making full-time income videotaping themselves play video games and then posting that to YouTube. It's crazy. It's not something I can do, but it's money maker.
Well, so the teenager who's doing that, how does he get paid though for creating this video? He's paid by YouTube for views or advertising?
Yeah, it's mostly advertising. Just people click on the ads that show during his videos, and he makes a pretty good income.
Well, he has 10,000 people view his ad. Does that 15 cents or 20 cents? How much?
Yeah, probably even less. It depends on the ad itself. But basically, you have to line up a lot of people that are watching you and clicking on the ads before you can do that. But there are kids making money doing that.
That seems almost like speculation or gambling as much as a real sure way of providing a service.
Well, it can. It can. The way I like to look at it is, if you're taking the talent, a skill, and a passion and combining all that, it's something you can keep working on and pushing. And to me, that's what makes it different from gambling. Because when I gamble, it's all chance. No matter what people say, and whatever skill goes into it, it still comes down to a roll of the dice, or the cards that get dealt. And to me, if I can manage the process and devote what I'm doing to the process, that's what I love about it. That's what takes the risk out of it for me, because I can just keep pushing.
We're talking with Dr. David Powers. This is David Tulis. Well, David, let me ask you this. You're a marital counselor. What are some things that make for a good husband that also make for a good business? How is a husband who's dealing with a wife who's maybe irritated or pressed or stressed out, how in dealing with her can he learn things that would help him deal with prospects or customers?
Oh, man, you asked me a question about being a good husband. Thankfully, my wife's not listening probably right now because she's at work, but I'll try to answer to that because I can deal with the irritated spouse. One of the things that I see in some of the best husbands that I counsel is devotion. They may screw up a lot, and those of you that are listening, husbands or the wives, you can admit that we all screw up a lot. But devotion to the process, devotion to the mission, which is, in the marriage, the mission is a happy family that's prospering in all the ways they want to. And you can run that to the business. Those same skills you can push to the business. Loyalty, devotion, just devoted to the mission, to the kids, to the wife. And that's what business is for me. That's why I love entrepreneurship, because I can provide for my family.
So draw that out a little further, David Powers. A good husband who's caring, gracious for his wife. He maybe overlooks slights. He's not easily offended. Those are virtues I know I have to work on being married. How make that apply more in business? Show how those virtues work to secure one's dealings with one's customers.
Okay, yeah. I mean, all the things that would make you a good husband or a good wife, those project into customer service. I mean, what you want to do is get, what they call a stark raving fan in any business you do. Even if it's an online business where you don't actually see the customer, it's those reviews and how you answer reviews when people have problems. Well, that's the same thing you deal with at home. I mean, when there's a complaint from the kids or the spouse, how do you deal with that? Do you accept blame? Do you accept responsibility if it's due for you? Or do you just try to pass that off? Do you try to make excuses? And that's one of the things I try to build with my kids is personal responsibility. And well, it's the same in business, especially if there's a problem with a customer.
We've all had dealings with businesses that want to count the pennies with us when we approach the front desk there with a problem with something we've bought, or we come back with a repair that's not adequate. They will say, well, they rationalize why they shouldn't make completely good or redo it, and that's something that doesn't work well in marriage. The business should say, we messed up on that. Here, just let us take the whole thing. Don't worry about it. We'll get it done quickly. You don't have to pay us a dime. It was our fault. Sorry for the inconvenience. And bend over backwards with apologies. I think that would keep me as a customer if I were treated that way.
Oh, yeah, certainly. And I find that it's the same way in marriage as well, to be honest with you. Even like, for instance, if my wife is mad at me for something, and it's not totally my fault, because let's admit in marriage, it's usually 50-50 and we all contribute. If I accept responsibility and apologize, just apologize in general for what I've done and anything else that is perceived, because a lot of it is perceived faults, and just take advantage of owning up to that. Most of the time, what I find is that my wife, or when I'm counseling people, the wife or the husband, at that point, they soften. They feel that the other person is taking responsibility, and the fault disappears in the love that they feel for the other person.
David, one of the things you specialize in is the acquisition of skill. Talk about your work there and what it is you're trying to encourage among your clients in this field.
Okay, yeah. One of the things I specialize in is called rapid skill acquisition. And basically what that is just learning things faster. You've probably all heard of life hacks, and you see those online, you hear about them on the TV, and it's basically just people that hack the system. They find a faster, a better, a more efficient way to do things. Well, I try to do that with the learning process. There's a theory in philosophy called the 10,000 hours, and it's been applied to rock groups like the Beatles. It's been applied to concert violinists, and it basically says that to be an expert in anything, you have to contribute 10,000 hours to learning that. Well, let's be honest. If you're a new entrepreneur, or if you're someone with a full-time job that wants to launch out, you don't have 10,000 hours. That's going to burn up too many years. And so I specialize in helping people do that faster.
Well, say more. What? Give us the secret, Jim, David Powers.
All right. Well, some of the secrets, and it's actually a nice little flow chart if you're watching on YouTube. But some of the secrets, I mean, for instance, the biggest thing is that light bulb moment. Seize on that light bulb moment, that thing that combines your passions and your skills. And the thing that when you see it or hear about it, all of a sudden in your mind, you say, you know what? I think I could do that. I think I can make a living on that. And then go from there. One of the things I like to do is people will just cover themselves up with books. They'll go to Barnes & Noble, or they'll go to the library, or they'll hit Amazon and order book after book after book and then never read them. Well, one of the things I recommend is just buy the Dummy's Guide or the Complete Idiot's Guide to whatever it is you're wanting to do. Whatever it is you want to learn about or the skill you want to practice, buy the Dummy's Guide. It doesn't matter if if you want to learn guitaring or if you want to learn investing. There's a Dummy's Guide for pretty much anything. Just devour that book, and it's going to give you the primer on that subject without having to read 30 other books on the topic. And you can go ahead and do that later on. But right now, what I want to do is save you some time. And those guides will save you that. That's one of the biggest secrets I tell people is, college textbooks, things like that. If they replaced most college textbooks with the Dummy's Guide, I think people would learn more. And it'd sure be a whole lot cheaper as well.
This is David Tulis. We have Bruce Krebs today, the Entrepreneur Hour at 11, just after my program here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And also check out the new Hot News Talk Radio weather station live. You can download the Bloom Sky app, and then you search Hot News Talk Radio. That's one word. And you can have a tremendous weather app there for you here, serving us here in Chattanooga. Well, David Power, what are some things in the way of you might say, not emotions, but let's just say emotions for the lack of a more readily obtainable word, desire and fear. Where does desire fit into the entrepreneur's perspective, and fear? How does that fit into what he's doing? Should he enter because he's afraid of something or because he desires something?
I would say both, actually. The desire is going to be what keeps you going. The desire is going to be the thing that, when you're feeling tired and it's midnight and you know that you have to get up at 7 a.m. for your next shift, desire is going to be the thing that makes you work 30 minutes more, to accomplish one little thing, whether it's buying a domain name or ordering a product or whatever it is. Just, you have to focus on that desire and feed it and stoke it like a fire, because if you don't, it will burn out. Now, it'll always be a little spark. There will always be a little spark of desire there that makes you have regret if you don't do this thing. But just stoke it, burn that thing up. Do things that feed that desire. And the fear aspect, I'll be honest with you, just for instance, I'm afraid of heights. And so what I do is I like to go rock climbing. I like to go rock climbing to where I'll climb up on the side of a mountain, and the only thing between me and the ground is a very thin rope. And I do that because it's my way of conquering the fear, but not necessarily conquering it, just moving past it and embracing that fear in a safe way. And so I say, if you're afraid of starting a business, you have to somehow learn to embrace that fear and find a safe way to do it. Just like having a parachute if you jump out of a plane.
My listeners concerned, David Powers, that he can't get his children interested in his ideas and what he does. He even has a little business, a little micro business, as you say, starting in his home. He just can't get his children. He's got 3 of them. One of them is a teenager, interested in what he's doing. What is the problem there, and how can he overcome this indifference?
I always say to look for the button. Everybody has a button that will drive them, ignite them, and push them. Like, say, for instance, with my kids. One of my sons wants to be a basketball player. And so we were identifying some goals. And actually, for part of our homeschool, we do a goal planning class because I want them to always be forward thinking and forward looking. And so he wants to be a basketball player, but he doesn't, he's 11, so he doesn't want to work hard or sweat a lot. But I was able to talk to him the other day about basketball, and we were actually looking at shoe endorsements for pro basketball players. And when he finally realized, you know what, I can play basketball and I can make this much money if I'm good. But you know what? Just wearing a certain pair of shoes will pay me this much more for my future. What will that do for my kids? And see, that was the button for him because he loves his basketball shoes.
I'm not quite clear on how looking at shoes encouraged him to pursue more fully this basketball idea. I didn't quite get what you were saying.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It was a way that I combined both business and what his passion is. He's always wanting to go out and play basketball, and I showed him how basketball is a business in an aspect, and that if he wants to do this, this thing, be a pro basketball player, he needs to not only get better but understand what he's doing on the business side.
I would question your idea that having children desire to be national stars in any sport is if that's a very fruitful goal.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, you're perfectly right, because the kids that make it to the pro basketball or any sport, very far and few between. And so one of the things that we actually ended up with his goal planning process is, you know what, if I become a pro player, but even I'm not a superstar, or if I never become that pro player, can I coach basketball? Can I make money coaching other kids on how to play basketball? Because even if I don't hit the top of the game, because so few people do, is there a way I can still make a living from this thing I love?
So you have him this 11-year-old boy put in view being a star player on a team, but also right next to it, there's other platforms where he can stand if he doesn't make the top rank.
Oh, absolutely. And we actually, I know a guy that played the European basketball leagues, which for what a lot of people consider is kind of, less than the NBA, but it's still a pro player. And so I took him and we interviewed this guy. Like, what can I do if I don't make it to the top?
We are talking with David Powers, who is a marriage counselor, but also has a great interest in entrepreneurship and adventure. He has a ferociously red beard, mustache, and a bald pate. And we are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're trying to find out how to improve our ways of thinking about entrepreneurship and creating wealth for others, creating benefits for others. That is what entrepreneurship. David Powers, thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We're brought to you by Bruce Krebs, who has the Entrepreneur Hour at 11 o'clock. Bruce Krebs from Entrepreneur Source. Call him at 875-5621, 875-5621. This is David Tulis.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm going to Carter Shooting Supply.
Carter Shooting Supply.
That's right, Carter Shooting Supply. They're having a great sale on all of their guns right now, and it's name brands like Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Springfield, their AR-15s. They've got the hottest gun in the land right now, the Sky 9mm. Man, it comes in all the cool colors. If you're an Alabama fan, they've got crimson. If you're a big orange fan, they've got an orange one. All the women are loving the pink one and Tiffany blue. Plus, it has a lifetime warranty replacement. If the gun is stolen, all you need is your police report or receipt, and they'll replace it free. It has a 60-day full money-back guarantee. That's Carter Shooting Supply. They're in Harrison right there at 6210 Highway 58.
Are they online?
Yes, they are. That's cartershootingsupply.com, or give them a call, 423-344-1099. Now, this sale's not going to last too long, so you need to hurry up and get there. And they do have a great indoor shooting facility. You can get your Tennessee handgun carry permit also. That's Carter Shooting Supply, 423-344-1099.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business? Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay your yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock. Call me now, 875-5621.
Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423-499-7780 to set up a free consultation and discuss our unique and aggressive marketing programs. We will provide you with a free market analysis to determine the right value of your home. Call us today at 423-499-7780 or visit our website at sabrinarealty.com.
You need a place for your party or maybe a wedding reception for 100 or even more. Maybe you'd like to host a small trade show for your business and you need a very affordable venue. Are you looking for a place for your birthday gala or services to start up a church? Look no further than the Hidden Gem in Hickson. It's an overlooked, newly appointed reception hall right here in Hickson, Tennessee. Big space, small price. That's right, big space, small price. Call Mr. Chu and ask for a tour. 316-7388. That's 423-316-7388. He'll tell you a lot more about the venue. Rent this venue today. Just call 423-316-7388 and ask for Mr. Chu.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation. 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
Get $10 off a screen repair. Mention Hot News Talk Radio. If you have the DTs, the shakes, because your phone is on the fritz, you have nomophobia. You need help. Your telecom doctor is in. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall. Get $10 off a screen repair. Mention Hot News Talk Radio. Cell Surgeon yanks open the ribcage of your phone, pries out the dead heart, and puts in the beating life that you lead on your cell phone. Get $10 off a screen repair. Mention Hot News Talk Radio. Broken screen, phone not charging, water damage, battery given out. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Get $10 off a screen repair. Mention Hot News Talk Radio. Check us out on Facebook. Open Sunday. Cell Surgeon. We bring your phone back to life. Get $10 off a screen repair. Mention Hot
News Talk Radio. Yeah.
Save $40 on having your 1040 done at Eric Pelton Company on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy. That's $40 off his regular low price. Eric Pelton helps you save more of what you've earned. Make sure to get Form 2045 from your insurer. You'll need that to show proof of insurance. Audits, proposed return changes, 1099, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services bring peace of mind and help you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices in Brainerd and Saudi. That's EJ Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead.
Charge! Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny toads! I'm up north! Gotta burn my boots. They touched Yankee soil. Lay down your arms and step forward.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Saudi Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. A federal court order directing Apple to help the FBI lift encrypted data from an iPhone used by San Bernardino massacre gunman Syed Farouk probably won't be the last word. CBS's Steve Futterman tells us Apple intends to fight the order, which it sees as creating a backdoor that would compromise the privacy of all iPhones.
The FBI wants Apple to disable or turn off an auto erase switch. That switch is designed to destroy all information on an iPhone when someone repeatedly tries to hack into the phone.
CBS News senior legal analyst Andrew Cohen.
The privacy argument that Apple and others are making are on behalf of the rest of us who own cell phones and who may want to exert our privacy rights if the cops ever seek access to the data we store on our phones. This is a case that could even draw the attention of the U.S. Supreme Court. This is precisely the sort of privacy fight that Justice Scalia relished, and he often sided against the government under Fourth Amendment law.
Some Senate Republicans have vowed to block President Obama from picking Scalia's successor, but Judiciary Committee Chairman Charles Grassley says he's open to considering a nominee and holding a confirmation hearing.
I have a responsibility to perform, and I can't worry about the election.
Political pundits who said Republican voters would tire of Donald Trump could be right. Chairman Charles Grassley says he's open to considering a nominee and holding a confirmation hearing.
I have a responsibility to perform, and I can't worry about the election.
Political pundits who said Republican voters would tire of Donald Trump could still be right at some point, but it hasn't happened so far.
Donald Trump right now is seeing his best polling numbers ever. He's now
Is Greg Brannon.
Over the last 5 years, pothole damage has cost U.S. drivers $15 billion in repairs.
16 million of us have been affected in the past 5 years. His advice includes keeping tires fully inflated with adequate tread depths. But the AAA also says it's up to state, local, and federal government to put more resources into adequate road maintenance. Vicki Barker, CBS News.
The Syrian government news agency says a UN convoy has started delivering humanitarian aid to people trapped in besieged Damascus suburbs. One man says what's gotten past the front lines of the Syrian civil war in the past wasn't nearly enough.
It's as if you're giving a drop of water to a thirsty man. The food quantities delivered are very small and not enough to feed a quarter of the population there.
The government says wholesale prices, a hint of what's ahead for retail consumers, edged up slightly in January. The biggest bump in food cost in 8 months offset a decline in energy. Winter weather hurt housing construction in January. Home building fell almost 4%. Wall Street is extending yesterday's gains. The Dow Industrials are up more than 140 points. This is CBS News.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? I'm Jim O'Connor, independent life insurance agent specializing in term life insurance. There's been a price war between the major life insurance companies. If you've had your term life policy more than 2 years, you may be paying too much. For example, a male age 45 non-tobacco user issue preferred best, $1 million of coverage is only $56 a month guaranteed level for 10 years. Or a male age 50 non-tobacco user issue preferred best, $500,000 of coverage is only $91 a month guaranteed level for 20 years. The life insurance industry is going through exciting changes. Make sure you're not paying too much for your term insurance. For new or replacement term life insurance, call for a free quote. 800-799-0903. That's 800-799-0903. Don't pay too much for your term insurance. Call 800-799-0903 or visit my website at term22.com. That's term22.com. Rates based on standard underwriting and may vary by state.
Melting snow and heavy rain have combined to unleash serious floods in the Appalachian Mountains. CBS News correspondent Jim Crisula has the latest from the Weather Watch.
Eastern Kentucky emergency personnel, including Gerald Baker, had to rescue several drivers from floodwaters.
The water normally will not look like it's as deep as it is. It's very deceiving till you get in it. Once you get in it, your engine a lot of time will stall out on you.
There's also been widespread flooding in the mountains of West Virginia. Rock slides have blocked several roads in eastern Kentucky and East Tennessee. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
A cold front that's working its way down the Pacific coast will give California a break from 3 days of record-setting heat. Much of the state can expect rain today and tomorrow with as much as 2 feet of snow in the mountains and gale-force wind gusts in the Bay Area. The temperature in downtown Los Angeles hit a high of 90 degrees yesterday. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? Fox News Talk 1240.
Expect a chilly start with lots of morning clouds for your Wednesday. Drying out, though, through the day. High temperatures near 50. Tonight, Clearing out, overnight lows cold near freezing. After a frosty start, though, lots of sunshine. Beautiful Thursday, highs warming into the upper 50s, back into the 60s Friday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried chicken finger with their special sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm 1412's Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Talking with Dr. David Powers, the marital counselor, who has a ferocious beard, red beard, and a bald top, a shaved top. Makes me ask, is there a way in which a man who is married can show his manliness in the area of economics? Is there a way in his marketplace activities he can project his virility and his strength? Now, I'm holding here for the viewer on our show at YouTube a series of green rectangles, green pieces of paper. Well, it's white paper with some green ink on the face. There's a piece of paper with a 50 written on it 4 times on the front side. There is a very fine engraving of General Grant, Ulysses S. Grant, whose administration was very corrupt, as might have been expected, but who was a man who showed great lenity and grace to Robert E. Lee at Appomattox, letting the men go home with their horses and their sidearms because he knew that they would have to fend for themselves and feed their families. So he was a very gracious man at Appomattox to our cause. And there are other rectangles. Others have the number 20 written on them. That one has a picture of President Jackson. There's another one with a 5 written on it. There's a picture. You can see there's a 5, a green rectangle, and the face of Abraham Lincoln graces that one. And the biggest figure of all, our founding father, is on a piece of paper with a 1 written on it. And these are called Federal Reserve notes, and it's said in small type, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. Now, it's my thinking, as I'm trying to be useful, having given a moment ago a sort of elevator speech on local economy, that how can we being married men be manly and testosterone creatures, right? With testosterone in the marketplace, we're supposed to have gracious lives with our wives, and show, as Dr. Powers suggested, show the same kind of interest that we show our wives in our dealings in business, right? As entrepreneurs, as even employees of other people's businesses, in the same way, though perhaps not with the same motivation. We are to provide this grace in marriage, and to make things happen that are true and proper. I know that sounds awfully vague. It sounds terribly vague. But what I would like to suggest is that we think about cash. Cash is part of my remedy in the analysis about the coming reckoning, right? The Great Reckoning. In fact, there was a book that came out in the early 2000s about the Great Reckoning, about the demise of the debt-encumbered welfare state and the tremendous dislocations that it creates in the marketplace, which all will have to be accounted for, right? They all have to be accounted for somehow. They have to be liquidated, they have to be paid for, or the instrument in which everybody does his business has to be itself liquidated through inflation or other through replacement, right? through competition. Hopefully, we do need. And by that I mean the dollar, the green rectangle Federal Reserve dollar needs competition. Though that use of the word dollar, which is a weight of measure, by the way, in silver of certain fineness, that has been taken over by the central bank and jealously guarded by the Federal Reserve guardians, the Secret Service, the Internal Revenue Service, and other fine agencies that are part of our great prosperity, right? Well, what if we think about green rectangles and using them in business to project ourselves in the marketplace. And there's actually a kind of sexy argument to make for the use of cash as opposed to the use of the credit card. By whom? Well, by you, the man who matters, who gives me a couple of minutes every day at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And my name is David Tulis. If you're just joining us, and we believe that local economy and the free markets are how the future needs to look. Right? We believe that we have something of a local economy now, though. If we were going to measure it in steady dollars, non-depreciated dollars, we could have an economy worth not $15 billion gross income per year in the county. I think that's the figure I read. But we could have $45 billion or $60 billion revenues in that instrument in this county, if we just had a genuine free market, not hobbled as it has been for decades by the national economy. And there would be a lot more of these coming in to the people who live here, being spent on plants, on investments, on new factories, new businesses, new places to harbor people to work, right? And we would have a much bigger downtown. We wouldn't have just Ottawa booming. We'd have booms in Saudi Daisy, out in Tiftonia. We would be creeping against the border of Georgia, demanding room. That would be our county in the future. But we don't have that, and we are restrained in our outlook. We are fearful in the way we do things. We're hesitating. We're constantly hesitating. There's so many costs to account for that are not really business costs, right? They're not marketplace costs. They are costs of dealing with the good people, right? The people who write these pieces of paper, and their handlers are the ones we have to deal with. Those would be, you could say, regulators, to put it in gracious language like that, appreciative language. They would be regulators. And this system, though you could say unconstitutional and corrupt, could be greatly enhanced here if we just had more free market. And how do we get there? I think one of the ways we could do that would be to use cash more often. And it comes to me to say that because there's a story out on zerohedge.com by Tyler Durden about Larry Summers. Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary, who, as we're told in the Washington Post, it's time to kill the $100 bill. It's time to go after big money, he says, as a occasional contributor to the, I think it's the Wonk blog column at the Washington Post. This came out on the 16th. Lawrence Summers, Larry, among his friends. And he says that the Europeans, if they eliminate the 500 euro note, are being courageous. They're being very bold. And he wants to make his Harvard Mossavar Rahmani Center for Business and Government, he says, has making the compelling case for stopping the issuance of high denomination bills like the 500 euro note and the $100 bill. To call the $100 bill a high denomination note is simply, well, I just have to laugh when I read that. There should be $1,000 bills. There should be $10,000 bills. Why not? Right? It's all the same. These are fiat notes, and what Summers wants to do is to encumber people. He wants them to have to carry a large bag of bills if they're paying in cash, right? Rather a large bag in his druthers than a small bag that contains hundreds, or even a smaller bag that would contain, if we had them, $1,000 bills. And so he wants. Why is he so concerned? What is his problem? We have to ask. Well, the problem is that the 500 euro note, he says, is called the Bin Laden. Well, you see where he's going, right? Crime and corruption, since the crime and corruption in significant part would happen outside the European borders, I suggested that, to paraphrase John Connolly, it was their currency, but it would be everyone's problem. And I made clear that in the context of an international agreement, the U.S. would consider policy regarding the $100 bill. But apparently the talks never got that far to effectively banish the $100. Of course, it's not a dollar bill. It's a Federal Reserve note with 100 written on it. It's not an actual bill. Though for convenience and the facility of communication, we call it a bill because it looks like a bill and it sort of quacks like one, but it doesn't really give the holder of it any claim upon any real asset. That's what a bill is. A bill gives you claim upon something, right? If you have a bill, or if you have a bill in a restaurant, the bill is the claim that the restaurant has upon you. Okay, a bill is a claim for something that has been enjoyed and maybe washed down with a little wine or other things. In the Federal Reserve System, there's $1.4 trillion in cash, according to Tyler Durden at Zero Hedge, picked up here at LouRockwell.com. Lou Rockwell, by the way, is the website for the man who really is thoroughgoing in his desire for liberty. It's the best anti-state, anti-war, pro-market site around. I think it's if not the best, at least a very, very popular website for freedom-loving people, and that's called LouRockwell.com. We have $1.1 trillion out circulating in $100 bills. That's a remarkable figure, that only $0.3 trillion is in bills of other denomination, 50s, 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s. That is certainly remarkable that so much of the outstanding cash in circulation is in $100 bills. Well, again, the problem is Larry Summers wants to make it inconvenient for people, good people, as well as bad people. The ones that they're very concerned about, bad people. These federal people. Of course, Summers is at Harvard now and giving lectures and is on a quasi public payroll there. But what about cash? Cash is in fact a private instrument. If you pay cash, you're doing one great favor to your local economy restaurant, right? Your local economy shop, even to the Walmart. If you go there and you pay cash, you're giving Walmart in that transaction up to 5% more of the money that you're spending there. So whomever is receiving your payment, if you are the buyer and it is the seller, well, you are saving some money because you're keeping out the credit card giants that consume much of the world's wealth through fees. So cash lets you avoid the tapeworm economy tax. It also lets you have a transaction that is complete, even though, well, if you don't have lawful coin, you can't extinguish a debt. But okay, let's just say what lawful coin is out of the picture for a moment, and there's not a debt involved, but just a transaction. You're buying, let's say, a sandwich. You're buying a barbecue sandwich and a salad from the gal there at Choo Choo Barbecue. Well, if you pay in cash, there's no flagellum that traces after the transaction, right? It's paid for. It's not an actual debt, but it's an exchange. She accepts your green rectangles, the 10 and the 1, and then you leave the tip. Well, I'm not sure there are tips there, but you leave your payment, and there's no trail of papers that show up later. There's no mortgage on your barbecue beef sandwich, right? There's not a mortgage on that sandwich. It's just paid for, and if you have a $100 bill and you pay in cash, think about what the effect of that $100 bill is. If you have a $100 bill, you are hurting the system. Every time you ask for a $100 bill from your bank, it reduces, at least in theory, it reduces by about $900 the reserve capacity of that company. If you take out $100,000 from a bank, you could force it under because it doesn't have the money to pay. No bank could pay you out that much without having to make arrangements, right? There has to be an armored car come up from the Federal Reserve Bank in Atlanta to make that payment if you wanted to liquidate your CDs and all. So cash, you could say, damages the system of the good people. And cash is private. Cash is patriotic. Think for a second of the patriotism of the man who gives this $50 bill for the payment of his work at Advantage Printing. Right, he goes to Advantage Printing, gives a couple of this bill. Look at that beautiful forehead of Ulysses S. Grant. Look at his finely combed hair. He's a man of dignity. He after all, ran the Yankee Army, destroyed the South. He is a noble man. And I would say so noble that having the number 50 4 times on a piece of paper with his face adorning it is truly a remarkable sign of respect for that former general and late president of the Federal Republic. And so you are a patriot. If you use this bill, you are a patriotic man. And think about the use of the bill with the 5 written on it. Abraham Lincoln. Don't you want to have Lincoln's face circulated more? Don't you want to do that? Well, if you use cash, you are a patriot. You are a true, genuine American man, and you know what's good in the past. You know that we have a great, great heritage from Abraham Lincoln, and so you need to be a patriot. Use the $5 bill and use the $1 bill with George Washington on it. Of course, you have to have a lot of George Washingtons to get anywhere, but I think that's why they put George on the smallest bill, because they wanted his face to be replicated all the time. They wanted people to be constantly reminded about George Washington and his silence as the president, right? The man who, the Freemason who allowed many good things to happen in the formation of what became the empire, right? The federal power, the passage of the Constitution, and all that allowed for this parallel national economy that rose up on the Constitution, and even in spite of the good things in the Constitution that people such as those women to whom I spoke last night at the Freedoms Foundation appreciate, right? They appreciate General Washington and constitutional government, and he brought many of those good things about. Well, if you use the $1 bill, you're displaying his face over and over again. So pay with ones in honor of our federal president. Now, the question I guess comes, and as I'm thinking about David Powers, the doctor, the marital counselor, and his discussion with us about local economy and the free market and getting into business, is the use of a $50 bill or $100 bill manly? Is it manly? Should we, you, my listener, and I, we guys, right? Should we use $100 bills more often? Well, think about this just for a second. If you have a $100 bill in your billfold, you are unlike most men. Most men have $8 or $9 of cash. And they have a credit card. They have actually 2 or 3 credit cards. So every time they buy something, there's that flagellum, like the flagellum at the end of a spermatozoa that makes it run, right? It pushes it toward the egg in the miracle of conception. Well, every transaction has that little flagellum after it, and that's the record, right? The record, and the man who pays by credit card has to deal with the sandwich later, right? He pays for the sandwich. Well, he doesn't pay for the sandwich, but he gives the card for the sandwich, and then he has to deal with the sandwich later. Now, he deals with it by having to write the check late at night when he's tired and the credit card bill is due, and he looks over the charges and, oh, there's Choo Choo Barbecue. I use my credit card there, and he just kind of he's encountering that delicious sandwich again. But does he really want to do that? Now, it's a great sandwich at Choo Choo Barbecue, but in the record, does he want to deal with it again? If he has a $100 bill, he doesn't have to worry about the record, right? It does not keep coming back. In credit, there is a kind of spider webbing of that man's life. Things keep coming back. He has to keep dealing with them. He has to send off a check. He has to find the stamp, right, and write the number of the amount paid today in. And if it's not the full amount, well, he's on the treadmill, and his past expenses are going to come again at him, and he will not be through with them. Maybe for months, he will be paying on that sandwich. He should be a man. He should say, I want to extinguish these obligations the moment they come up. I'll pay in cash. I'll pay with the green rectangle, the $100 bill. I project myself, right? That's very masculine. That is a very masculine thing to do. And so in a way, a very slight way, I want to suggest that if you're using your credit card all the time, you have something of it's kind of soft, it's kind of hedging. It's kind of not sure. You've got to settle accounts late at night, weeks out after every transaction, and there's an accounting. You have an accounting, and here's the amount you owe, but you can pay $35 and roll it over. How about that? Isn't that good? You're a little pressed right now. Why don't you do that? Well, the man who pays with cash gets things done with, right? He's in and he's out. As I expressed it in my quick analysis. By the way, you may want to note that analysis: 10 minutes in, 10 minutes out. That's what happened this morning at 9 o'clock. Manliness is something that you have with the use of cash. If you're using a $100 bill, think about this. Terrorists use $100 bills. Think about this. Drug warlords in Colombia use $100 bills too. And they may occasionally use the 50, but it's really awkward to have to double the size of your pack. If you use cash, you're involved with a medium of exchange which is lawful, and the government says on the paper that you have to accept them in payment for a tender of debt. So in other words, you're stuck with these. If anybody owes you, you have to accept the reduced value of that note as it comes to you later. If they pay late, and you've of course already lost buying power and value through inflation, and you're forced to accept it. So there's some compulsory language on that piece of paper. Well, good. You like compulsory language, right? And it makes you manly, right? It's the stuff of it's the stuff of Brillo pads. It's the stuff of the unshaven cheek in the morning. Having cash, being manly, paying for your outlays, your sandwiches, your car repairs, your tires, and the like. Not thinking to go back into the mechanism which feeds the national tapeworm economy that is going to be the ruin of the good people and the ruin of many people who are saddled with their obligations and think somehow that they can affirm their identities by buying new things, the latest labels with credit, and not thinking conservatively, not thinking cautiously, providentially, as I suggest here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. My name is David Tulis, and we want you, the listener, to man up. Use cash, right? Think about cash as a manly enterprise, something that not many people do yet. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio, and that's us. And my name is David Tulis, the editor of Nooganomics.com. That's Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a chilly start with lots of morning clouds for your Wednesday. Drying out, though, through the day. High temperatures near 50 tonight. Clearing out, overnight lows cold, near freezing. After a frosty start, though, lots of sunshine. Beautiful Thursday. Highs warming into the upper 50s. Back into the 60s Friday. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried chicken finger with their special sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Are you prepared? Do you have an emergency plan? Do you have the skills and mindset to survive a disaster? Now is the time to come to P5 Preparedness. We offer preparedness classes, supplies, and over 30 years of combined knowledge. P5 Preparedness, located on East Brainerd Road between I-75 and Gun Barrel. Look for the big Army truck. Call us at 423-602-2175. Do not wait. You need to get prepared today. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. Get the skills and supplies you need or die waiting for help. P5 Preparedness.
Hello, I'm Mike Little, candidate for criminal court judge with 25 years of criminal court experience, which makes me the most qualified candidate. The experience I have gained from handling over 4,000 cases in state and federal court has equipped me with the ability to be fair, impartial, and independent. As your next criminal court judge, I will focus on keeping Hamilton County safe. I view this position as a public service and will strive to improve the daily operations of the court. I humbly ask for your trust and vote in the March 1st Republican primary.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mike Little. Barry Abbott, Treasurer.
Sky Aerial Services uses advanced drone technology to give you a better perspective and depth of your property and project. We offer aerial photography and video for your business, farm, home, or advertising campaigns, as well as editing services to complete the experience. Call us at 423-521-0284 and see how we can help you tell your story about your business, property, or project. We work with real estate professionals, both commercial and residential, developers, engineer inspectors, surveyors, ad agencies, auto and boat dealers, mapping services, insurance inspectors, corporate marketing, charity events, weddings, and photographers. Our consultation is free. Call 423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284, or visit our website, skyaerialservices.com. Sky Aerial Services. The sky is our limit.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
News Radio, I'm Karen McHugh. Illegal battles brewing between Apple and the FBI.
Apple chief Tim Cook says the tech giant will fight the judge's order to help break encryption on an iPhone belonging to Syed Farouk, one of the San Bernardino shooters. Cook says cooperating with the FBI would create a back door that could be used on future devices. Law enforcement officials say encryption can be a problem during investigations.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland. The WHO is asking for more money to fight Zika.
The UN's World Health Organization saying $56 million are needed to combat Zika, and that's just to cover roughly the next 3 months. Officials saying the funding will be used for a range of efforts, including research into vaccines and measures to control the particular mosquito that's spreading the virus across the Americas.
Fox's Simon Owen. The Labor Department reports the producer price index rose 0.1% in January. Fox News. We report
you give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A wrestler from Rossville pleaded guilty on Tuesday to having sexual relations with a 14-year-old girl back in March of 2013. Authorities say he raped her at her home on Standifer Gap and then discussed the incident in detail on Facebook. The judge placed the defendant on the sex offender registry for a minimum of 10 years and instructed him to have no contact with the victim or her family. And a former Tennessee offensive lineman, Matt Crowder, has been booked on 5 third-degree felony charges on Tuesday night in Florida. 4 counts of sending material harmful to a minor, and 1 count of using a computer for a prohibited purpose. According to a release, this was part of Operation Wayfarer, which was a 5-day operation run from January the 20th to the 24th, in which investigators went to various online classified pages and posed in chat rooms as minors. Be sure to get the Bloom Sky app on your smartphone, search for Chattanooga, and you'll see the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
There's a story in Chattanooga about a proposal by the governor to undermine public education by increasing literacy. Well, I did say that correctly, and that is that the governor wants to have a statewide reading initiative designed to nearly double reading proficiency in third grade by 2025. Reading is a tremendous mystery. It is incomprehensible activity, even though it has been studied since the 1920s in the Soviet Union and in the American Soviets as well. The Soviet overseen by what became the National Education Association. And so reading is a mystery, and we don't know how to do it, but we certainly know how to prevent people from learning how to read. And that has been policy in the American educational system since the 1920s. Well, in the educational news cycle, a couple things I wanted to mention before I give a moment's thought further to the reading crisis that we have, and how improving reading is against the policy of public education, and that is the truth. And I know it sounds kind of strange, but it is. The governor is forgetting his place, right? If he's in charge of a state and oversees in his DOE, Department of Education, this branch on schooling. There have to be stricter controls, and we can't let the political people take over what we're doing here at the DOE. That's just, the governor needs to be reined back in. He needs to be part of the plan. He needs to be involved in our program of literacy education, as of course as they call it. You, my listener, would say, well, literacy is something really important. If a man is literate, he is a man who thinks independently. Right, he's a man who can make himself by reading the great authors and pursuing his own desires in the world of reading, literature, and history, and so on. But that's not what the state has in view. There's a story just on this topic at WRCBTV.com about the collapse of the digital surveillance system called testing in the past week. And it's apparently all the county principals in Hamilton responded to the failure of the TN Ready online state testing program with a letter to the superintendent and to the Hamilton County board members. It's copied by David Carroll, probably the most connected man in Chattanooga. It's not me. I'm sure that David is much more well connected than I am, and Roy Exum. Those are the two men in Chattanooga who know everybody, right? They're the ones who are deeply sourced in local doings, and so I would suggest that you follow them. And if you want to keep up with local news, I'm less connected, though. Well, I would say it doesn't really matter where I fit in the scheme of things, but certainly I'm not one of the great ones as they are. So this letter David Carroll publishes has these principles saying that part one, quoting here, part one of the TN Ready assessment should be eliminated this school year based on the potential lack of reliability and validity of developing a paper pencil assessment in a short time frame. This is kind of murky. A valuable instructional time has been dedicated to preparing for an online assessment that has been abruptly changed. Eliminating part one of the TN Ready assessment will allow valuable instructional time back into teacher and student schedules. Well, what they're saying is that we can't keep practicing this system. Okay, they're saying that we can't practice this system on the part one area anyway, and so we want there to be an end to the practice. So what we have, it sounds like, if I'm reading this correctly, that the practicing of this system is continuing. That's what they're suggesting in this letter, even though the system collapsed and it's not going to be used this year. Is that true? Maybe this is not being rightly understood by the editor. But I am the editor. If I am misreading something, I hope to be the first person to catch myself doing it. And it goes on to say that due to the abrupt change from the online format to a paper and pencil assessment, the scores so-and-so should not be applied to students' grades as well. Grades are the part of surveillance that you care about, right? You, my listener, your son and daughter in the system cares about surveillance because there's a benefit, and that's the grade. The grade matters. Of course, I'm a homeschool dad, and though I've worked my whole life as a student in the public system, even through a master's degree, I now have repented. I've repented and would say that grades really don't matter. They're really you should know if you're displeasing your professor in your discourse and your arguments by discussing and reading his marks on your papers. That's how you know whether or not he thinks you're good or not. The grade is simply the military part of the equation, and you are the one who favor the whole surveillance equation, and you want the grade, right? You want the grade, and you want the grade to be an A or a B. You don't want it to say F or D or C minus. You want it to have a different letter. And your value, your affirmation of your value comes in having an A or B and not the other letters that suggest that you are lacking in one form or another. The testing crisis is also covered by Alexandria Adams on TV 12's website. The headline, it sounds like it's an editorial, and that's kind of how I started reading this piece. Over-testing in our school systems. It's just a label head. But it quotes Dan Liner, the president of the teacher union here in Hamilton County. It's called the Hamilton County Education Association. And he says that not enough time is being given to teachers to instruct their students. Quote, too little time in instruction because over-testing robs teachers of valuable instruction time. I'm hearing this from the children that they're taking tests to find out how well they're going to do on the test. Well, if there's not an indictment of public schooling in that quote, I'm not sure where we can find one, but that seems to be very apropos to our free market analysis of this cartel. Liner goes on to say that there are lasting effects a child can develop because of over-testing. And he says in the last quote at Alexandria Adams' story at TV 12, he says, any child, whether the child is a kindergarten student, a third grader, 8th grader, or 11th grader, that child develops test fatigue. Well, okay, he gets test fatigue because you're taking tests to find out how you're going to do on the test. Which the testing is not what you think. It is partly what you think because there has to be some marketing space given to these procedures, right? These productions, and so you the parent have to be satisfied to some extent, right? You have to think that there's some valid purpose in this surveillance, but it really is much different. It's and read the quotes from David Carroll and other stories about this Mist software collapse out of Nashville. And you'll see that it's not for what you think. It's for it's kind of a pornographic viewing of your child's changing behavioral patterns as exhibited through the neural transmission results, the fruits of his neural transmissions that change, that fill in the box. Okay, if he fills in the box the right way, then we know our behavioral modification system and its underlying paradigms are working. And we need to make some adjustments, though. The test data suggests that we need to adjust certain things to make our students think differently, right? To behave differently. We're not testing for knowledge. We're not testing for wisdom, reading comprehension necessarily, though we are to some extent, or they are to some extent. They are really trying to find and measure the psychosocial skills of the subjects, right? The subjects are the students. Well, what about Governor Haslam? And what about this undermining public education? Well, if this article is about a genuine program, right? If it's about a real program, then the system is in jeopardy, and Governor Haslam needs to get a lecture in private from the people who know, right? The people who know why that system is there. Probably some foundation types who get federal dollars, but he's proposing a statewide reading initiative that would double reading proficiency in third grade by 2025. Well, it's a long way off, right? We need at least 9 years to get to understand how this reading crisis can be brought to an end. The reading crisis has been in the making since the 1920s, by the way. But he's announcing he and his wife, First Lady Chrissy Haslam, are launching the Read to Be Ready campaign to improve literacy across the state. It sounds really very good. The event will begin a statewide focus on the critical value of reading. Not only the value of learning to read, but also the value of reading to learn, officials said. Now, that they sound like me, okay? They're using my argument, but that's just marketing. That's just, they want you to approve of this. They want you to think that, well, something's being done about our functional illiteracy crisis in Tennessee. And officials said, according to Chattanooga.com's account of this statement, the campaign will kick off and highlight our collective and aligned strategies to improve reading that will lead to better thinkers and workers in Tennessee. Okay, better thinkers and better workers. If you read, you're a better thinker, okay, and you're a better worker. That's true. This statewide campaign is designed to move the 43% of students who are currently reading on grade level in third grade to 75% by 2025. So right now, 43% of the students are at grade level, and the state, through this program, wants to raise the percentage to 75%. We know that reading is so much more than just connecting words on a page. It is about making meaning, improving thinking, and opening the world to our students. Governor Haslam has already proposed a $9 million investment to create a network of literacy coaches and regional coordinators supporting literacy efforts across the state. Notice all those words, right? This is in addition to the department's commitment to partnering with higher education to refine and strengthen literacy campaigns or standards for new teachers, as well as providing support to existing teachers on intervening and strengthening literary skills. So there's an intervention program. Some teachers somehow don't teach reading the way they're supposed to, or maybe they're teaching reading the way they're not supposed to and getting into trouble for it. So there is an intervention program for teachers to save them from teaching outside of policy. That gets really confusing, because if you're a really good teacher, you will teach children how to read and not bring to them the powers and delights of functional illiteracy, which is hold on. You think that I'm critical of functional illiteracy. Well, functional illiteracy is important. We have to have functional illiteracy in Tennessee. How else can we have people who are dependent? How else can we have people who don't know how to think independently of authority, who don't know how to question the standard narrative, who don't question the official narrative at any point? At any point. We have to have people who are functionally illiterate, because we need people who are employees, who take orders, who do more or less what they're told, who can run cash registers and maybe send off quasi-literate emails to the customer with a question about his account, and have grammar more or less adequate. This is what we need to have. We need to have people who can do these things. But what we don't need in Tennessee are people like you. You, my listener, are a threat. You are a danger to the system. And therefore, we have to understand that functional illiteracy is an important benefit. It is an important cross benefit, and in some ways, I think unintended benefit of a managerial factory school system. How do we have a functional illiteracy problem? Well, functional illiteracy is a form of behavioral disorganization. And I get as my source on these two writers who are, one of them I know is dead, Sam Blumenfeld. The other probably has expired also, and that's Rudolph Flesch, Why Johnny Can't Read. These are volumes that are 40 years old now, and they tell the story of how it is we or they, the good people, have brought functional illiteracy to the front as a necessary benefit to the modern consumer-oriented, debt-oriented, employment-oriented American people. And the other one, here's another one, the new illiterates and how to keep your child from becoming one. There are a couple of histories that I've read, and one of them is a classic 1983 maybe. I've got a signed copy, by the way, from Sam Blumenfeld to David Tulis with best wishes. The author writes to me, and he tells of how the Soviet Union and others working in the behavioral school of thought discovered how they could limit the independence of students. This was very important under the Dewey model, the Thorndike model of turning people into animals, of viewing the soul and the spirit, of viewing the whole claim of God, you might say, through theology upon the person, eliminating the spiritual reality of the human being entirely, turning him into a biological entity that is controlled or at least influenced by behavioral methods, the scientific methods. You know, the Pavlovian idea of the barking dog that salivates when the bell rings. Can we get people to act like that? Well, there's a whole vast literature that's been well explored by some of the best writers in our country. The dissenters, right? They're all the dissenters. It is known that by imposing look-say teaching techniques on the alphabetic writing system, one can artificially induce dyslexia. Okay, that's what we have is an old system that's 80 years old now. It's called the look-say method. It's not phonics. Phonics is the system that works. My children all learned. They're all very literate people. They learned through phonics. In fact, they used Sam Blumenfeld's Phonics Reader, a very boring book. But what you do is you learn the letters and the sounds the letters make. You learn combinations of letters. You learn those sounds. And then you learn how words are made. And so when you look at letters on a page, you make the sound. You hear the page reading itself to you. That's literacy. Well, what happened in the councils of the greats in the Soviet Union and the intellectual establishment, the Anglo establishment, right, of the United States was a desire to thwart that. It was a secret desire, but it's not a conspiracy to bring illiteracy to the American people is not a conspiracy. It is published repeatedly, though it's taken some writers some effort to find out exactly how the system works. But if you have the alternative method, the illiteracy dyslexic method, what you're doing is you're turning letters not to have a sound, but to make a picture. It is the pictographic, the ideographical way of reading, which of course is makes reading impossible. You cannot read if the words are pictures, if the letters are pictures. If you don't hear the sound, you can't make the word, and you can't read. Every reading platform, every reading system that compromises on the point of phonics is, you could say, corrupt, but I would say, trying to be in the spirit of things here, I would say it's beneficial to preventing people from learning how to read. And you think this is funny, but it's really kind of sad. If you ask me, I think this is sad. I think this is a sad thing to consider, because what we've created are dependent people. What we've created are people who watch television, who believe things that they read about candidates, who think that candidate speeches are full of truth and the like. Well, what we have is an artificial form of dyslexia. And Blumenfeld says, it was created thereby creating a learning block or reading neurosis. It is a reading neurosis that we have functional illiteracy. Reading disability, he says, is a form of behavior disorganization induced by the look-say method. Because look-say sets up two mutually exclusive tendencies: the tendency to look at written English as an ideographic system like Chinese, and the tendency to look at written English as a phonetic system because it is alphabetic. In other words, the combinations of letters make a noise, right? A series of noises, which are the words that you hear. The alphabetic system is in harmony, he says, with the spoken language because it is based on it. But the ideographic look-say system is in opposition to the spoken language because it is an entirely separate system of graphic symbols with no direct relation to any specific spoken language. And the Soviet Union was involved in this. There's a professor named Luria. Luria's experiments indicate that psychologists know how to artificially induce dyslexic behavior. True dyslexia is so rare a condition that it was virtually unheard of before 1930. But artificially induced dyslexia is today the most common learning disability in the United States. And that is why in the Soviet Union, look-say is not taught. We have it here, but it's not taught in the old Soviet Union. This book, again, is 40 years old. The behaviorist educators have always known that artificially induced dyslexia could be eliminated, Blumenfeld says, overnight by switching the primary schools back to intensive phonics. That's what we don't have. And thank goodness Governor Haslam is not demanding that. He's just doing something different, though. He's going kind of a bypath. But the conspiracy against literacy is now so powerful that even the state of Texas cannot prevail against it. For this reason, if literacy is ever to gain ascendancy in the United States, it will have to be done outside the public education system, which is totally controlled, he says, by the behaviorists. So I guess the news is not as bad as it could be. We have Governor Haslam proposing a $9 million investment, he says, to create a network of literary coaches and regional coordinators supporting literacy efforts. But we're not getting back to phonics. Wow, I thought if we got back to phonics, we'd have suddenly public schools that teach people to read independently, to think independently. And it looks like that we're not going to have to worry about that for a good while. And that's because look-say controls and look-say hybrids that are quasi-phonics, quasi-look-say, the old ideographic system controls, and pure phonics. We don't have to worry about pure phonics. We don't have to deal with an independent people who think for themselves, who read for themselves, who make up their own minds about things, who don't believe, who disbelieve the established narrative. I hope you, my listener, don't believe in the established narrative, and I hope that you go to Nooganomics.com to find out more.
I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd, right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm going to Carter Shooting Supply.
Carter Shooting Supply.
That's right, Carter Shooting Supply. They're having a great sale on all of their guns right now, and it's name brands like Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Springfield, their AR-15s. They've got the hottest gun in the land right now, the Sky 9mm. Man, it comes in all the cool colors. If you're an Alabama fan, they've got crimson. If you're a big orange fan, they've got an orange one. You know, all the women are loving the pink one and Tiffany blue. Plus, it has a lifetime warranty replacement. If the gun is stolen, all you need is your police report or receipt, and they'll replace it free. It has a 60-day full money-back guarantee. That's Carter Shooting Supply. They're in Harrison right there at 6210 Highway 58.
Are they online?
Yes, they are. That's cartershootingsupply.com, or give them a call, 423-344-1099. Now, this sale's not going to last too long, so you need to hurry up and get there. And they do have a great indoor shooting facility. You can get your Tennessee handgun carry permit also. That's Carter Shooting Supply, 423-344-1099.
On your signature, you can get $150,000. Can you believe that? $150,000 on your signature. Hi, I'm Bruce Krebs with the Entrepreneur Source. There's a program right now that you can get $150,000 on your signature with no pledge of collateral or personal guarantee. Call me at 423-875-5621 to learn more. 423-875-5621. You've been thinking about starting a business? Don't do it on your own. I have a proven track record for the last 13 years, a 96% success rate. I can guide you into a franchise where you will pay yourself through the startup phase with very low or little risk. Call me now. I'm Bruce Krebs at 423-875-5621. And make sure to listen to the Entrepreneur Hour every other Wednesday from 11 to 12 o'clock. Call me now, 875-5621.